Hey, welcome back. I'm going to talk a little bit about histograms. I want to kind of bridge into Newton a little bit. I'm actually going to start with the Newton. As I said in the last video, there are lots of histogram videos that are already made. I will do a little bit of support here on how I would approach this particular problem. But just to sort of start with Newton, first of all, the way you get to Newton, if you're trying to look ahead, is through the module activities and assignments. So in every module, there will be a page like this, and then in this page, there's a link to Newton. Because that's kind of annoying, what I did is I created an announcement to post every Sunday about the tasks for the week. And in that, you will see a link to your Newton assignment. You click on that. Um, and you do have to go through the module that you're in each time once to open up that assignment. From there, you can kind of go sideways and work on other things. But when you get there, it'll look something like this. And I had to kind of play around and go through the preview as a student. So this is not exactly what it would look like, but this is the question that I wanted to draw attention to because it it really is about building a histogram, but it's building a histogram using um, the tools that are provided here. And so I'm trying to create a histogram. Now, the first thing to say about histograms is that instead of having a single value, so if you remember in our bar chart here, there was one age and we were counting how many of those people there were. In this situation, we're counting a range of things. So anything that was between 81.5 and 84.5 is counted together. And the reason that we do that is because if we have something that covers a large spread of data, we end up with 5 million bars, which is really annoying to look at. So it's helpful to group the data together into classes or bins. And so that work has already been done for you. In fact, for this rattlesnake situation, I can't imagine who's out there collecting rattlesnakes and measuring how long they are. But anyways, the data has been collected, it has been organized, and then this table, which is a frequency table, has been built. And the key here is that we built these bins and then we went and we did our counting. So that's what we're going to do in our age histogram at the end of this worksheet. Now, in this particular case, I just need to adjust this so that it works. The first thing I'm going to check is the ranges. I'm counting by threes, 81.5 to 84.5, 84.5 to 87.5, 87.5 to 90.5, 90.5 to 93.5. This range all looks perfectly set up. I can adjust these. Oh, no, I can't adjust these. There's one where you can adjust the x-axis, so you do need to pay attention to that. The fact that the bars all look the same width is a good sign. And in fact, those are set up correctly. So what I need to do is just move these. Like there's only 5 in that first one. So I'm just going to adjust these so that they match. And then I should be able to submit it. And it is telling me the number on top, which is nice. And then 2, and then so no work to do on the x-axis. This should be good. It says yes, so I move on. And then which range contains the longest sampled eastern diamondback rattlesnakes? There's a follow-up question. Greater than 96.5, less than 99. I don't know how long the longest snake is. That's what I know about it. It's greater than 96.5 and it's less than 99. And I think that's it for histogram. There was one histogram question that I was particularly interested in. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so this is the one where you may have to adjust the x-axis as well as the y-axis. So pay attention to see if the bars are the same width. That is a feature of histograms. The bars should be consistently wide. If you're having any trouble with any of these assignments, the thing I would recommend is to take a screenshot and send it to me by text, email, and say, hey, I'm having trouble with this. Can you give me some advice? You can also just text me and say, do you have time to Zoom? If it's during the middle of the workday, and it's not Monday or Wednesday, there's a high chance that I'll say yes. So, those are some things to think about. Okay, now let's shift back to the actual assignment. We need to finish our M1 assignment. So I want to do this without doing the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of pre-work here and get a similar data set so that I'm using similar data, but working in it with actual different values. Okay. I deleted a couple of values. So our histograms are going to look different, and that's okay. The values will be slightly different. And I just want you to be aware of that so you're not trying to match everything that I did here. Okay, so here's a basic process for creating a histogram. First, I need to decide on the number of bars, bins, classes. These are words that are synonymous in this context. And so this is in some ways arbitrary. I'm going to say I want 8 bars. Okay. And so the next thing to do is to figure out the width of each bin, class, bar. And the way I do that is I'll take the range and divide it by 8 because I decided on 8 bars. And so my range here is going to be the highest minus the lowest. I know that's 92 because it's 92 is the maximum and 0 is the minimum. That's work we did in the last one. So my width is going to be 11.5. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create ranges based on 11.5. So each bar will be 11.5 wide. So this first one is going to go from 0. So I will have a lower bound and an upper bound. So I'll start at 0 and I'll go up to 11.5. Then I'll go from 11.5 and I'll go up to 23. Now I'm going to start using math here because I don't want to keep doing this in my head. So first of all, this was just this number plus 11.5. So I should be able to autofill there. Now, this number was equal to this number plus 11.5. So now I should be able to autofill down, and I have my lower and upper bounds, and I'm finishing exactly at 92. And this is sort of problematic with choosing this was a perfectly divided. There's going to be a problem with inclusive and exclusive. I feel like those words are too complicated for now. So I'll just say that what we're going to do here is we're going to make 2 different columns. The first column is going to be the name or label for the bar. And then this one is going to be how many inside that range. And so what I will do here is I will make a special formula called concat. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just to make it easier to see. Equals concat. And I'm going to make a phrase. So from 0, I got to put a space here so my stuff's not jammed together. From, and then to this number. So what I'm doing with concat is I'm creating a little label. I'm not being overly symbolic. I could use square brackets and parentheses to do this, but I'm trying to do it in a way that's more understandable to the person who's just starting out. And I want to autofill down to here. Now this might seem like it's big enough, but the problem is going to be how we're counting. And the fact that 92 is one of the values that we want, but if we're going to be consistent, we need to have an understanding of including the lower bound, but not including the upper bound. So that's just because if I want to be consistent, I need to do the same thing every time. So I can't like include the lower here, but then the upper here, but then no, I'm going to include the upper here, but not the lower here. So this is being consistent. And if you want the mathematical notation because you're interested in it, it would look like this. Instead of saying from, I say square bracket. That means from the lower bound and including that number. Then instead of the word two, I put a comma. And instead of just finishing with the number, I finish with the symbol, which is an open parenthesis. So this is technically what's called interval notation. If you took pre-calculus, then you probably learned this at some point in your life. And that's what that would look like. So it is a more concise notation. That's one of the reasons we use math symbols, is to convey more information in one thing. And this is in the way, which is annoying. Back out of this. Okay, there we go. Now I can continue down here. So the reason that I need this last one is because I need to include 92 somewhere, and it's not included if I do, if I don't have this last row. Now, this part is the part where I would do my COUNTIF, and my range is going to go from here all the way to the bottom, Control Shift down. Oh, I've got problems because the bottom here is only A4, so I'm going to escape. What I'll do is I'll just sort this. It'll get rid of all of the spaces, and now I should be able to do this. COUNTIF. Your data should already be sorted and there's no gaps. Remember, I deleted some values so that this wouldn't be exactly the same. So I've got my range here, and the next thing I need is to say, what am I looking for? So this is the part that is a little bit hard. So actually going to say two things. This is going to be, well, for the first one, I'll show you, I can use a COUNTIF. So it needs to be less than 11.5. So I'm looking at this range. I'm counting everything that's less than 11.5. This is a nice small one. I can check myself. There's 5 of them. Yes, that makes sense. Now, as we go forward, there's actually 2 conditions. It has to be greater than this, has to be less than this. And so I use something called a COUNTIFs instead of COUNTIF, so that I can say 2 things, 2 different criteria. So I go from here to here. I say greater than or equal to 11.5. And then I use the same range, A2 to A9991, comma, and I want to be less than 23. Okay, so this is a much bigger number, and I could validate it if I wanted. I could just highlight everything that's bigger than 11.5 and smaller than 23, and I should end up with this number. But this is a basic structure for a COUNTIF. Let me kind of move my cursor over here so that it doesn't run off the screen. Yeah. So there's, first of all, it's COUNTIFs, and then there's the range and the statement of the condition, and then the range and the statement of the condition. All right. I'm going to leave it there. When you finish, you're going to highlight this. This is what you're making the graph out of. So, and then you're making the bar chart, insert, column chart, or recommended chart. Okay. Right now, I've only got 2 bars. I'm going to add more bars. You got to fix the title. You got to put the axis labels on. And then the last thing that you're going to do to make this actually look like a histogram is if you click on any bar and you right click and you format the data series, you can take the gap width down to 0, and then it puts the bars together. So that's a key feature of the histogram. The Newton assignment reinforces that. I don't know whether it's better to do this assignment and then Newton, or do some of the Newton and then do some of this, but they're intended to be supportive of each other. So don't ignore Newton and feel like I just need to focus on this. Use them kind of in sync. And maybe a good strategy would be like, oh, I'm kind of frustrated with this. Let me turn my attention over to here. If you get frustrated, if you get stuck, got to reach out for help. It's very important that you can ask for help, that you know I'm here, that there's the learning specialist that can support you. I'm going to get you the name of your learning specialist. So your first contact beyond me, because we have embedded tutors for all of our courses. Most of the time we have embedded tutors. So that's a really important feature. I'm going to make one more video for this module focused on some of the Newton questions that are harder. And that's it. And that's your work for week one. I'm sorry that we're not together, but I think you got a lot of information here, and most importantly, you know how to get a hold of me.